Hey, it's me, Hrishikesh Kannan, popularly known as Hrishi K. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the bell icon now to get the latest videos and get taken into a world of entertainment, culture, sport, business, and current affairs.
I've always dabbled in a few things. I think I am so much better at painting. I've always wanted to have paintings up in my house, and I refuse to go out and buy anything. So I've been painting stuff, and I've made tons of little ones, and I'm attempting a really big one. So hopefully that'll go on the wall behind me right there.
Lovely. I like the blues in that one. I don't know if they're
that's
meant to represent waves. I don't know if they're meant to represent- yeah.
It is. It's that's a lake actually, but yes, I'm very, very attached to water. So most of it is sunsets and water.
But were there moments when you freaked out, when you called mom or somebody from the family and said, "Oh, what's happening"? All of us did at some point.
It was hard. I mean, it was incredibly hard at the beginning. More so because we dealt with a family loss right at the beginning of the lockdown, like 5 days into it. So it was very hard on us because we were very, very close to him.
Ileana DCruz, wonderful to see you. Most important question. I hope the family and you are safe and healthy, and I hope the senior citizens have got their jab.
Yes, thank you so much. And they're all good. Family's good. Parents have got the jab. Thank the Lord. How is you? How is your family? How's everything? I hope everything's all right with you.
Yeah, so far so good. I'm not missing the, hours and hours of travel. That is one bright side. But then there's the other side. We all have to live.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Ileana, do you feel that glamour sometimes detracts from a great performance? I mean, you've looked so good. You've looked so glamorous in other roles that sometimes people haven't been able to go beyond that. And here, when you're de-glammed in the big bull, people can actually concentrate on your performance. I want your thoughts on that.
I think that's a very good question. It's very, very often that glamour does sort of overshadow performance, and people sometimes cannot envision maybe the both of it together. But I think they just sort of typecast you. So I think they could really sit through the whole film and go like, "Oh my God, that was a great performance," but they assume that, "Oh, you know what? She just meant to look pretty in the film." So that's an unfortunate little thing that happens very often. But I'm actually glad that I get to balance it out. I'm getting to do a film like this that is very unusual, very unique. I have a film that's coming up after this that's also very different. And hopefully the one I sign beyond that will be incredibly glamorous as well as performance driven. So hoping to break all those stereotypes and typecasts.
I'm so happy. I've always been in your corner, and I'm so wonderful to see you, take
Thank
your career
you.
to the next level. So your character is, I'm given to understand, based on investigative journalist Sucheta Dalal. Did you read Sucheta's book? One that she's written? Have you met her in person, or was it just the screenplay that you had to go by?
It's, firstly, my character, she's a financial journalist. I wouldn't say she's based on any one person. I think I didn't look up any particular, I didn't look up Sucheta Dalal at all. I do know she's, an amazing woman and very inspirational, but I personally have not really looked up anything as far as she's concerned or her work. And I basically played the character the way I envisioned it. So I went with the writing and I stuck with the director and the character that they made. And I sort of just molded myself into it in my own way. So if I did goof up somewhere along the line, then it's all on me. But everything that you see is just the work of the writers and the director.
My dad was saying this to me. I mean, he's on the other side of 70. And he was like, in the good old days, since this film is set in the past, journalists were driven to the cause. They were literally khadi kurta and chappals with their jholas, going out and getting the right story for all ethical reasons. I'm not saying there aren't journalists like that today. I'm sure there's a fair share. But journalists were not supposed to have large farmhouses and fancy cars, all the stuff that news journalists have in this day and age. So in that aspect, it must have been wonderful to play this character whose ethics are pretty old school, wonderfully old school values.
Absolutely. Oh God, it was lovely playing her. She's exactly as you said, that she's focused, she's very driven. Her work is basically her life. Like, she would live in that little office of hers just to get, because like she genuinely believes it's her ethical duty to get the real story out. So she basically is single-handedly responsible for exposing the whole scam. And I love that. I love how gutsy she is. And she's a woman in this sort of man's world, but at the same time she's very, very clearly throwing caution to the wind and saying, you know what, I'm going to do it. I don't care what it takes, I'm going to do it. And I love that. I love how spunky and feisty she is. It was really lovely playing something like that.
Yeah, and since it is based on true incidents and true stories, it must have been quite crazy for any female journalist in that era of these big scams to go out there with all these bankers who are all. Now it's wonderful to see female bankers everywhere, as CEOs of banks. But otherwise, it was such a male-dominated bastion that for a woman reporter to go in there and break that and uncover scams must have been pretty difficult to do. And that again must have been one very important aspect, taking on the men, which you must have
Taking
loved.
on the men, I think it was almost unheard of. Like, she was definitely what's the word, the flag bearer for maybe starting off something like that. But I think I was genuinely super surprised. It was a very different role for me. For the first time, I wasn't playing a romantic interest in a film, so it was very intriguing. And I mean, I cannot imagine what it must have been like in real life for a person like that to have gone through stuff like this. But the lovely part about doing a character like this in the confines and in the safety of doing it in a real life zone sort of helps a bit. But it's great. It was liberating, it was exciting. And yeah, I mean, I cannot imagine a woman sort of standing up to all those men and saying, I'll do whatever it takes. I love that.
I love the music. I mean, the title track has been making waves for a while now. It was originally a Carrie Minati track, an indie track, and now they've refashioned it as the Big Bull title track. It's got some great groove in it. Were you aware of Carrie Minati before this, that he was a YouTube sensation? And what do you think of that title track, the groove?
I think it's amazing. I think it's a very trippy, very catchy. I initially, I think the first time I heard it, I thought it was a joke. I thought they were joking because I said, it's set in the 90s. How could you have something like that's so funky and like so new and so sort of current? But it grew on me, and I'm like, oh my God, this is great. This is really, really good. So I think it just adds that edge to the film. And sort of just brings it up. I love the soulful number, though. I'm an absolute softie at heart. So the romantic number between Abhishek and Nikita is just absolutely lovely.
Actually, you preempted my next question. When you saw Ishq Namaza, when you heard it, was there a part of you itching saying, I should have been in this?
There was
but
a
you've done
twang.
your fair share. You've done your fair share. Let's put it that way.
Yes, I have. I mean, there was a little twang. Of course, the heroine in me was like, "Oh, I want a romantic song too." But honestly, I wouldn't change it for the world. I think the character that was panned out for me is amazing, and I'm honestly so thankful they thought of me in the film.
That's lovely. And I know, AB and you don't play romantic interests, Abhishek Bachchan and you. But
Yeah.
do you have lots of scenes together? Were you hanging out on set together? He's such a wonderful bloke, isn't he? Fundamentally.
He is.
Yeah.
Oh God, he's so much fun to be with. He's very cheeky and he's lots of fun. We had a lot of scenes together, actually. And it was amazing. It was really great working with him. There were certain elements, like there's this look that he has as his character, and I cannot say it because there's profanity involved with the way I explained it, but it's a very smug look, and I was like, oh my God, you nailed that look. It's so good. So he's great. He's so much fun to be with, and I think my only complaint was that we didn't have enough work together.
Yeah, well, never say never in the future. Why I also asked that question is because, AB's got this, like you said, a great sense of humor, very cheeky kind of humor. And you're the kind of person who would understand it. A lot of people don't get that humor.
They don't, though.
Yeah.
It's
So
very
I would imagine.
straight-faced.
Yeah, it's very straight-faced. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. Also, a wonderful ensemble cast of actors. I mean, there's Soham, there's Nikita. You want to just talk about some of the other actors, please?
Yes, there's Soham, there's Nikita, there's Saurabh Shukla, who I've done so many films with. There's Ram Kapoor. There's a lot of actors. I mean, I didn't work with all of them in the film. I had scenes with only a couple of them, but again, great actors. And like even some of the other actors that we worked with, that I have scenes with, who are probably not as well known as the other ones, are just so amazing, so amazing. It was great. It was amazing working with people that who are probably not as well known, but I think after this film we'll get a lot of recognition for the work that they've done. So I think altogether we've just made the film stronger and more interesting.
Just a bit about Cookie, your director. I've met him socially. Really, really nice guy. He did make a Vivek Oberoi film called Prince. But other than that, were you familiar with his work? Or was it just his pitching of the idea and the fact that, this is Ajay Devgn Films and the entire team that's involved, and the role, of course, that made you sign the film? A bit about Cookie.
So I think Ajay had basically given me Ajay is one of those people who's very sort of, for lack of a better word, blasé. He doesn't get into details. He'll just be like, okay, this is a really good film. I'm producing it. I'm not acting in it, but he's like, listen to it. I'm like, all right. He's like, I'm sending the director. I said, all right. And I was filming in Hyderabad, and I did not expect him to send the director the next day. I mean, Cookie's flown down the next day to see me. And I'm like, oh, okay, so we're doing this here. Great. All right. And we had a meeting and we talked for like about an hour and a half, and it was amazing. It was so good. It was, I think, an instant vibe with him. I was very comfortable with him from day one. And he's a really nice guy to begin with. Cookie's lovely, but his enthusiasm, I think, and just the way he was so into the story and the way he was explaining it to me, I was like, it got me pumped. I'm like, I definitely want to be a part of this. So I didn't really know too much about Cookie's work before this. I hadn't really, again, I'm not somebody who watches a lot of films, but it was great working with him on set. I think we had a great vibe. Like we almost had this thing where I was like, come on, we're going to nail the scene in 1 hour. Let's do it. And I loved it. I mean, we had this very infectious sort of energy on set, and it was great. It was lots of fun.
When you say you don't watch that many films, do you really mean you don't watch that many films? Or let's say, or do you watch like OTT series and this and that? I mean, it's perfectly understandable. You want to get your mind off your primary job. I know a lot of musicians who, when they get out of the studio, don't want to listen to music, so musician friends of mine. So
makes sense.
What do you do? What do you do in your downtime then? Do you read or do you watch OTT series? What?
I read, I paint. I mean, I've done a little painting up there. I paint a little bit. I do watch stuff on TV, but the problem is I am one of those, I'm fairly anxious as a person. So I sometimes like to watch things that are very, very, I think the best way to explain it, I'll rewatch a lot of stuff because I know what's coming next. So I know what to expect. Yeah. So in a way, I like watching stuff like that. There's very few times that I will watch something new, and I have. But if there's something that just doesn't go my way or the way I envision it in my head, it would just upset me. So most of the time I don't experiment and don't really watch a lot of new stuff, but I'm trying to change that.
That's really sweet. That's like the little girl who watches Finding Nemo 300 times.
But I will. I am that person. I mean, I was having a low day 2 days ago and I put it up on Instagram. I'm like, okay, give me something to watch, guys, please. And they gave me these lovely recommendations. And I'm like, no, I want to watch Despicable Me. Nope, I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, there's great comfort in mom's cooking and movies that I mean, I completely believe in that. I totally believe in that. So would you it's been such an interesting career. In Telugu cinema, you were almost venerated. I mean, the kind of blockbuster hits that you gave, and then you came into to Hindi cinema, and there was this whole glamorous Ileana DCruz thing, and now these strong parts are coming your way. And in this time and age, with theatricals going only 50%, are you going to say yes to anything? Even if it's OTT, the larger world, or are you going to still stick to theatricals? I mean, it's a cliche question, but just want your to pick your brain on that.
Um, I'm definitely not saying yes to just anything. In fact, I'm being far more choosy and picky than I probably ever was in my entire career. It's honestly broken my heart that I've had to pick up the phone and talk to producers that I absolutely adore working with. And I had to tell them that, I'm really not feeling this film. And it's nothing to do with, I haven't really thought about whether it's going to be an OTT release or a theatrical release, but it's more about the content for me. It's all about the content for me. So I'm very particular now more than ever about what I want to do. And it hasn't really stayed in the back of my head too much about whether it's going to go straight to OTT or because I am actually looking at web series as well. So it's very likely that I might sign something very soon.
And do you have an agent abroad? I mean, because with so much diversity and inclusion coming in, Indian actors are getting such great parts, aren't they, Ileana, abroad?
That's true. I mean, that's also on the cards. So hopefully I will sign up with somebody soon.
So let me get this straight. Since the big bull talks about greed in all its forms, if somebody walked in tomorrow and gave you a bag full of money and said, "Do a song," you might not. The younger Ileana might have said, "Yeah, let's go for it." This older, wiser Ileana will ask more questions instead of just saying, "Let's do it for the money." Is that it? Is that
Absolutely.
a fair assessment?
Absolutely. Oh God, yes, absolutely. I'm like, what's in it for me apart from the money?
Yeah, lovely. Listen, it's been a tough year, lockdown, then semi-lockdown and things like that. But some people have used it constructively. I mean, they've acted on skill sets and things like that. I don't know, is there a skill that you picked up that you didn't have during lockdown? I mean, it's been a year now.
It has been a year. I've always dabbled in a few things. I think I am so much better at painting. I've always wanted to have paintings up in my house, and I refuse to go out and buy anything. So I've been painting stuff, and I've made tons of little ones, and I'm attempting a really big one. So hopefully that'll go on the wall behind me right there.
Lovely. I like the blues in that one. I
Oh
don't know
yeah,
if they're meant to represent waves. I don't know if they're meant to represent. Yeah.
It is. It's that's a lake actually. But yes, I'm very, very attached to water. So most of it is sunsets and water.
But were there moments when you freaked out, when you called mom or somebody from the family and said, "Oh, what's happening?" All of us did at some point.
It was hard. I mean, it was incredibly hard at the beginning. More so because we dealt with a family loss right at the beginning of the lockdown, like 5 days into it. So it was very hard on us because we were very, very close to him. And it was hard because my mom and my brother and sister were in America. My dad was in Goa. My sister was in Australia, and I couldn't meet with any of them. So I think I sort of willed myself to be strong and tell myself that I was okay. And then when the opportunity came for me to actually visit them, and I finally went there, I realized that I wasn't all right. I really needed to be there. So I think there were definitely moments. I don't want to come back for sure, but it's nice that I've got family sometimes away from here because it's kind of cut away from reality. So I get to go over there and escape for a bit.
Great. Ileana, you're lovely. Keep painting and keep acting and make us happy.
Thank you so much.
Make us happy. You've got a long day ahead of you. Thank you for your time and stay safe and healthy. God bless you.
Lovely
Bye-bye.
talking
See
to you.
Same
Bye.
here. Bye.